Hello crafty friends, welcome. I am here today with day 2 of my holiday card series for 2019. Today I am going to be making this card using a Bo Bunny stamp set called Santa and Friends. I've had this stamp set for a while, but I had not used it. I purchased it a Tuesday morning, and yeah, I just been collecting it there, so I'm super excited to use it because these images are just super fun and cute. So what I'm doing here, I am just stamping this image or trying to kind of not center it because I wanted to use a couple of different images. I am using my VersaFine Onyx Black ink to stamp it. And I did decide to use this little owl to stamp him there with the Santa. So now because I was going to go and stamp it, but I didn't want it to go over the Santa, so I decided to do a little bit of masking. So because I wasn't going to mask the whole thing, I didn't stamp the image. I just kind of drew over that because, you're able to see through. And then I just covered the Santa's hand. Now when I did that here, you can see that I kind of missed stamping a little bit of the hat for the owl. And instead of stamping the whole thing again and risking messing it up, I decided to go in and draw it. So I am just kind of trying to go in and keep the details of the little hat with the little sections here and there, not really looking into where they are. But here you can see it looks like it never happened, so super excited. I am using my Zig watercolor markers here to color the image, and I am just going to be using two different shades of red here to add onto the Santa. Now what I'm doing here at the beginning is just adding on the outline because I want to create a little bit of shading, or a little bit of a shading effect. So I am adding the color onto the outside and onto the little pocket. And then the second color that I'm using, the darker one, I am putting it on the outside, as you can see here. I am going to be using a water brush to blend this in or to kind of mix them in together. But when you're using a water brush, this is not watercolor paper, so you have to be very careful that you don't use a lot of water because you don't want it to pull onto your paper to warp it or to kind of mess it up after a while. When it's paper that is not meant for water, it'll kind of start peeling off, and you don't want that to happen. So make sure that if you do that on regular paper, that you use a water brush that's not dry, but it has just a little bit of water, just enough to mix the colors in. And here you can see they're both already mixed, and now I am going to be coloring on the belt. Now because I didn't want to put the color straight on the belt, it is a very super small section, I decided to scribble it onto my glass mat here, and I am using this We Are Memory Keepers mat to do it, and it's super easy because the cleanup after is super easy. So here you can see I'm just using a wipe or a paper towel that you can go ahead and wipe it off and clean it. Now I'm going to try to keep this image with the most minimal color that I can. So I am using traditional red and green. So I decided to give Santa a green little scarf. Now this little scarf, you can see it has all this little section like I actually don't know how to knit. I think that's called knitting. I don't know how to knit, but you could actually go in and do different colors and different things, but I wanted to keep it simple, so I decided to color the whole thing green. So now I am going to be coloring the Santa's face using this tan color, and then picking a pink color so that way I could color a little bit into his cheeks, and then blending it in with the same marker. I'm just trying to pick the colors or the right colors to add to the image. So now I am going to be using this other one that it's a Spectrum watercolor marker, and I am just scribbling it on my mat, and you can barely see, I don't know if you guys can see that there's a little bit of the color that it's adding, but I wanted to add a little bit of color to Santa's beard because since it's white, you could just leave it white, but I wanted to add a little bit of color to make it look like it's like it stands out. Now here I am going to be doing the same thing for the little owl, and I decided to scribble the color onto the mat. That's another reason I like this glass mat, is because you could use it as a palette. So it's very easy to do when you don't want to add the color straight to your image. And I wasn't sure exactly how dark I wanted it, so that's why I decided to do it onto the mat. You could also do that on like a clear sheet of acetate or something that you are able to kind of scribble the color. and then pick it up. And you guys have seen me sometimes do that also with my alcohol markers. I either scribble it on the mat or I scribble it onto a stamping block. So you could do that as well. So now I wanted to add a little bit of texture here, and I've had this texture paste for quite some time, and I think it's actually getting a little bit dry, so I decided that I am going to be using this because it would be such a waste not to do it. Also, my stencils had been neglected, and yeah, I decided to pull out a stencil. Now I am going to be adding a little bit of color here to that texture paste by mixing the colors in with the paste so I can create my own color. This is a good thing to have, when you, instead of having like a bunch of different color paste, you can just create whatever color you want. So just mixing in the colors here. I'm trying to create a green one because this little section here kind of looks like little, or it kind of gives me the idea of little trees, so I decided to use that. Now, I was gonna start adding it before without masking, but I decided not to risk it because I don't want to mess up my coloring, so I decided to mask the image. And here I am adding it here and there. And as you can see, they're not really trees, but I just wanted to add a little bit of texture and color to the background, so I'm making it look like it's a little trees. So now it's very easy, like I said, to just clean all this mess up, and just like that, snap my fingers and it's clean. Well, I wish that's how it was. But I am adding here more texture paste using a different section of my stencil. And this one has like this little spot area, so I'm kind of making it look like if it's snow falling. So I'm putting it up on the top and I'm putting it on the ground as well. I like this little stencil because it has a lot of different little sections that you can use. So here you can see I've already added. Now it's dry and I'm removing my mask, and I'm already liking how it looks. Super, super pretty. But I wasn't 100% happy with those trees in the background, so I decided to add a little bit of color or more color to the background to make the area be a little bit more full. So I just kind of smushed a little bit of that distress ink onto my mat, and I am just adding it, picking it up with my water brush. Again, this has very little water, so that way I can add a little bit more color. And now, as you can see, it's starting to look a little bit more full, and it looks better. So I really like how this started to look. Now here I am going to be cleaning off my brush and my mat so that way I can continue on to the next steps. So next I was trying to decide if I was going to color the sky or not, but I decided to kind of leave it blank and not color it. So I am just going to be trying to decide. I'm measuring to see how big my little square ended up being, and I think it was a 4 by like 4 1/4 or 4 1/2. So I am going to be putting it onto a standard A2 size card that is a top folding, and I decided to mat it with some green paper or pattern paper. And I'm using this one from a paper pad that I got from a swap that I did a while back, Christmas in July. So here I'm just kind of trying to go ready, and I actually ended up messing up. So you'll see here that I ended up using a different paper to back it because I accidentally cut it wrong. So it was a little bit small and I was not 100% happy. So I decided to use a different one. And I am going to be adding a piece of ribbon, or a strip of ribbon on the bottom to kind of balance that extra empty space on the top and bottom, because I can't really center it. It's not a rectangle, it's more of a square. So adding that piece of ribbon on the bottom, it kind of grounds it, adds a little bit more of that pop of red from Santa's outfit, and also just kind of centers the whole image. Now, to glue this panel onto my card base, I am going to be using my art glitter glue, and just kind of put some generously around the whole area and center it as best as I can. I recently started using this art glitter glue and I am liking it. I'm getting used to it a little bit more. At the beginning, I used to think it was a little bit too runny. I guess compared to the glue that I am most used to, it felt different, but I'm getting used to it a little bit more. I do like that it is a very strong adhesive and also dries clear, so that's a win-win. So now I am adding here lots of foam tape all around the base because I decided to pop it up a little bit, and I am adding more here and there just to kind of make sure that my card's not going to get all squished up when I put it through the mail. So adding as much as I can. Another thing that you could do is add some fun foam in the center, and so that way it can hold it up. But I didn't have any handy, so I used foam tape. And again, I'm trying to center it as best as I can, and I'm pretty much done. I love how it's looking, but I decided to add a little bit more of interest to the bottom. So I created a tiny little bow to put it onto that little ribbon or little area of ribbon that I did. So I'm making a little bow right here to put it on top of it. So here you see I'm pretty much done, and I use a glue dot to glue it. So this is one of those permanent glue dots. So here you can see I just kind of center it, and my card is pretty much done. So now for the inside, or to finish it off, I decided to stamp Merry Christmas, and I am using a stamp set by Amy Tangerine that I purchased with Simon Says Stamp last year. So and I think the image is older than last year, but I bought it last year, so I like that the bold of the writing. So this is pretty much how I finish off my card. I hope that you guys enjoyed it, and I hope that you guys are enjoying this series. I apologize that I'm a little bit late today posting the video, but I will try to post it earlier next time. Thank you so much for watching. Welcome to all my new subscribers. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't done it, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye bye.